I'm worried about all the additional noise in the last year and a half or so as AI is coming up. I'm getting flooded with literally 10 times the marketing, sales, activity coming in.
Yeah.
What do you believe anymore? The noise is crazy, and most of the companies that I work with, the folks in my CEO groups, it's completely changed the game. So what was working isn't working. Everybody's scrambling along those lines. What advice do you have there for?
Yeah, I think the outbounding right now is tough because I think a lot of these tools that have enabled kind of broader and quicker reach are flooding people. I do think the curation of the inbound is where the real opportunity is. So a lot of what we're trying to do right now, just think about better dialers for your staff. The ability to have customers interact with an agent first, if not exclusively. The ability to have, again, as I gave demos as an example, not wait for an AE to have a Calendly availability to do a demo, but have one kind of custom built for you on the fly. So for us, it's been more dealing with sort of the inbound and the curation of the inbound. I think the outbound's tough because I do think the amount of outbounding that's going on right now, and even the personalization of it, has gotten a lot better. So yeah, it's funny you say that because we were having a conversation today about this for us. Like, as we're reaching out to companies, what does it look like? And one of my team members would say, right now, I'd say the noise is a lot higher, not just because uh, the market is down right now. And so a lot of people have been, really kind of hammering same companies over and over, but the quality of the outreach seems to be higher. So it feels like people are able to do better, quicker research, get more messages out to folks, which just makes it harder to stand out. So I'm going back to the old tool method, which is the things I really care about. I either pick up the phone and call or send a direct email to. That's not a scalable thing for most folks, but for our companies, the way I think about it is really focus on what you can do with these tools on the inbound, the stuff that's already coming into you and your walls and how you get that to go faster. The outbounding side's tough right now.
Yeah. So trust is really big. So I think AI can make everybody look better, but I wonder on average, are they really any better across the board? And so I have a hard time believing anything because everybody says they're the best that ever was in this particular space. And so I'm kind of coming down to managing and leveraging the trusted relationship based network that you have to kind of
Yeah.
slather out to get to others. I feel like that's where it's going to go because it's going to be so hard to believe any of this stuff that you read or see.
Yeah. It's interesting. The world of SaaS is not as in favor these days. And so, a lot of what I still go after with folks is simple messaging that I've been doing for the last 10 years. And in particular, trying to find SaaS companies that are not, I don't want to use the word AI whitewashing, but aren't spending a lot of time talking about AI. I want to put AI on all the companies we work with on the product side of things. But first and foremost for me is I want to find a really good workflow company with a really good data asset. And then try to stand out on that. I do think that, I was talking earlier today with folks about agentic AI, for example, because there's so much written about that and so much investing going into that. I think that's a really hard space right now. And I get a ton of inbound on those because, you're basically trying to win with a better trained LLM. And I think that having a better trained LLM is, hard. It's a hard game to go and play. You ultimately have to have a good data asset behind it. And I think there's a whole lot of these companies that are popping up today to, in the legal space, the accounting space, you name it, that are going to go out of business, but I'm getting flooded by them. For me, I'm just trying to go back and looking at the stuff that I've looked at for 20 years, just good old traditional SaaS workflows where we can put AI on top of them and deliver a better product.
Yeah. Yeah. The tools are incredible. I've got a number of attorney friends that are saying, they're getting 10 hours worth of work done in 30 to 40 minutes. It's amazing what's happening in the transformation here. When it comes to AI, there's still a lot of, founders, business leaders that don't really understand it. What's your advice for how to think about even, getting started, getting your feet a little bit wet and then working into, what's possible with these tools?
Yeah, I think, people, whenever you get new technology, people kind of take old models and apply it against it. So if you look at how most people are using AI today, it's basically a glorified search engine. That's okay. I mean, it works really well for that. What I try to get people to do is start to say, okay, one of the things that actually it's really good at, is actually getting you the right data out of you. And so, I actually build quite a few custom GPTs, or I guess in the world like Claude, think of them as projects. and I give them personas, right? And so one of the first things I talk to people about, and I've done this with my 16-year-old son, I've done it with my wife, I've done it with friends that run very traditional businesses, is, hey, let's think about what you're trying to accomplish, and let's see if we can't write a persona to help you with that. So, example I'll give you, because again, I'm working, my son's trying to create a business to make fishing lures and trying to build a web app. And so what I did is I created a product manager GPT for him and basically loaded up a whole bunch of product requirements documents and description of product manager job and a little bit about what he's trying to do. And then I gave it the mission of, yeah, your job is to help create a product requirements definition for him for his application. And I said, now let it ask you questions and go from there. Right. So for me, a lot of it is maybe what you want to do if you're a CEO is maybe you want to model out your investor. Like maybe you want to create a version of me that you can ask questions to. So before you go to a board meeting, you can determine what I'm likely to ask. Or maybe you want to try to create a strategy consultant that knows a lot about this space and going to really focus on helping you refine your strategy. So a lot of it to me is about starting with this idea of like, okay, let me think about this as an alternative personality. I want to give it a personality and a role, and I want to interact with it. And a lot of the value is going to come from what it extracts from me more than what I ask it. And that's how we play around with it. I also did a demo where I showed someone I'd created, two GPTs to serve as an investment committee. And I gave one the role of being for it and the other role of being against it. And I gave them very specifically product. I said, your product manager, you're focused on the product side of this only. And I let them talk to each other. And I just showed her like, look, if you really focus on, trying to build these things so that they're not just general purpose, tailored to what you're looking for, assume that a lot of the data is going to come from you and not from it, you'll get a lot of value out of it. And these things are so easy to get started. They're just really easy to play around with. And, most people just haven't put the time into it. But it's not like, 10 years ago, you wanted to understand data science. That wasn't easy. Like it just trying to create your own data science artifact was not an easy thing to do. It's so easy to get started in this stuff. And a lot of people just don't know how. So trying to help them frame it is one thing I spend time doing.
Yeah. And if I remember right, didn't it help your wife launch and sustain a podcast?
Yeah. So we're in the process right now of trying to do a joint one, which is maybe you give me advice on this, but the whole idea is the negative split life, which is how do you run as faster in the second half of your life as you do the first half? Because I'm at the stage where people talk about retirement, and to me that's a 4-letter word. I hate hearing it. I also hate the thought of slowing down when it comes to athletics. So we've been having a whole topic about how we write this, but I also did. I showed her how to do this. Sorry, my wife hoping doesn't kill me for this, but she was trying to pack last minute, and we went to Ireland for a trip. And she asked, like, "Do you have?" And she's like, types in a question. I go, "How about this? How about you just take it in, turn on the video, show it your closet, tell it with a bit where you're going, and ask them if it has recommendations." And sure enough, it did. It went through and said, "Yeah." And so, I said, I just try to give her some different use cases. But part of what I try to get people to do is just get out of the frame of what you're thinking, right? Get out of that search engine mindset and try different things out. So she and I have been working on a podcast stuff, and a lot of it's been deep research on the topics. A lot of it has been kind of trying to think about the questions. I think we're getting close to having 10 episodes ready to go. But yeah, AI has been a big part of that. And I've also told her I want to do a whole thing on how she's using AI now to organize her life. She's really gotten obsessed with how to use it around sports too. So, hi, honey, if you're listening.
Yeah, I think it's amazing. And then I've heard you talk about rather than just tools to improve workflow, AI can be super useful in making recommendations to your customers. So it feels like it's and even internal team members, it feels like it's very proactive in giving you ideas and therefore creating even more value faster.
Yeah, if you think about all the different tools you have as a product manager to listen in on what customers are doing and watch live sessions of it, the ability to quickly process that with AI is fantastic. Even if we were talking about the front end about having like an AI SDR, even if you let AI listen in on the conversation with the customer, yeah. One thing that's nice about AI is, if I think about an SDR has incentives. In the end, their job is the way they get paid is to get an AE to accept a lead, usually, right? If you have you have a chat sitting alongside it, they're listening to the customer, they're unemotional, they're actually pretty decent at understanding intent, emotion, and getting facts. So imagine if you're an AE, even if all you're doing is collecting data and you're getting a quick summary of like, here's what the customer cares about. Here's how I'd rate them in terms of buying intent based upon all the previous conversations I've been trained upon. Here's where I think you should prioritize it. It's really, really powerful. So, there's different ways to insert it. Actually, you'll find sales reps who use this stuff now too. They will on their own use this to process calls and then get an idea of whether or not someone's really live or not. And one of the fun things to do, which I don't get the luxury of doing because I don't sit in a company, is to walk around a company and just ask these simple questions. I used to do this all the time with my developers when I was at Rackspace or working on OpenStack. What are you using? Why are you using that? Show me all the tools. Anything interesting you've seen recently? Anything you're using that your colleagues hate that you're using? And I would do the same thing with AI right now. I'd want to walk around and understand how people are using it and seeing the adoption. That's the one thing I don't get as much of my job today, which I hate. I have to call them and say, hey, can you tell me about what you're doing? But yeah, a lot of it's just getting around and playing around with it.